Live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 6.
We're at the state fair, and the ride turned upside down and dumped everybody out. There's people who are bleeding really bad.
The ride broke loose and 5 people fell straight from the sky. 20 feet drop.
Right now at 6, you hear it. Panicked 911 callers describing the horrifying scene last night at the state fair. 5 people seriously injured on a ride called the Vortex.
WNCN is looking into eyewitness accounts, the conditions of the victims, and the safety history of the operator. We have team coverage from every angle on this fair ride accident that has overshadowed what is typically a highlight of our state. Instead, it was a chaotic scene at the state fair last night after that ride went terribly wrong.
Take a look. Many witnesses watched in horror as the victims were thrown out. This is video posted to Instagram by Amanda Guthrie. This was about 10 to 15 minutes before the accident, but it shows you what the ride is and how it's supposed to work. The Vortex spins, twirls, and flips passengers upside down more than 10 feet above the ground. If you've been to the state fair this year, this is the area that we're talking about. There are 2 Vortex rides, but this is the one near the youth center on the perimeter of the Midway.
The investigation began within minutes of that accident. Our Steve Sprague live to kick off our team coverage. Steve?
Mel Penn, the investigation being headed by the Wake County Sheriff's Office. They'll be assisted by inspectors from the Department of Labor because that is the agency tasked with making sure all the rides here at the fair are safe. Now, they'll be looking at mechanical aspects. They'll also be talking to eyewitnesses, and it's quite possible that eyewitness accounts, at least some of them, may hold the key to what happened. As the Vortex sits idle today, investigators treat their probe as a criminal investigation, according to Sheriff Donnie Harrison.
We have a lot of witnesses to talk to, as we've been doing so since last night, but it takes time.
This past Monday, there was a complaint about the ride. Officials say a bad switch had to be fixed.
It's a solenoid switch on the seat for the passenger carrying device. It locks the person into the seat.
Last night, a carryman noticed something amiss with the Vortex ride as he stood in front of it taking photographs. He told WNCN there was a problem with the safety bar which holds in passengers.
They were trying to get the bars down. The operator was trying to push them down and they wouldn't go down. So after a few minutes of playing with it, he called somebody else over and both of them tried to get the bars down and they wouldn't get them down. So they would raise them all up on both sides, try again, and it wasn't working. So they called a third guy over and he couldn't get them down. And I think between the riders wanting to get going and the operator's a little disgusted a bit with the whole thing, finally one of the guys just grabbed it and just jammed the bars down.
45 minutes later, the accident happened. Right now, officials cannot say if there was a connection between what Ken saw and the issues with the bad switch on Monday.
We're not going to speculate on anything. We've got to make sure we've got every T crossed and I dotted.
As for the Vortex ride,
that particular ride is closed. It will not reopen.
Meanwhile, officials at the fair said today there is no way to minimize the tragedy of what happened. They said they were all shaken up by it. You can tell just when you walk down the Midway and talk to some of the employees off camera. They all want answers, and they want them as quickly as possible. Live with the latest, I'm Steve Sprague, WNCN News.
So scary. Thanks, Steve. Now, buying advance tickets to the fair will get you a price break, but some people are now wanting their money back. David Young says he bought 5 admission tickets, more than 100 ride tickets, to take his family to the fair this weekend. Well, the fair visit was supposed to be a birthday present for 2 of his kids. But with the accident on the Vortex, he now wants a refund and says that request was rejected.
They weren't very nice about it. I mean, I'm sure they have a lot going on, especially with what was going on, but they brushed us off, and I asked them how many people have called up there, and they said, well, a couple.
So what were you looking forward to doing that now you can't do?
Like going on all the rides and the bumper cars and everything that's at the fair.
Are you disappointed?
Very disappointed.
The Young family says even if they don't get their money back, they will not go to the fair because he said his children are too afraid to go.
Meanwhile, everyone who visits the fair, everyone who runs the fair, even the governor offering up their prayers for the people who were hurt in that accident, some of whom are still in the hospital. Our Justin Quisenberry live at Wake Med with an update on their conditions. Justin?
Penn, of the 5 people brought here to Wake Med, 2 have been released, 3 remain in the hospital. The victims range in age from 14 to 39, and they have asked authorities not to release their names or their conditions, but we do understand that they had serious injuries when they were brought here last night. In fact, an EMS source told us they were all initially unconscious, and one had a serious head injury. Another had injury similar to a concussion, our source says. The sheriff says some of the victims are related, and one person is a ride operator. A fair spokesman says one ambulance arrived on scene within a minute of the first call, just after 9 last night. All 5 victims arrived here at Wake Med by 9:37 last night. Again, 3 of the injured remain here tonight. We're live in Raleigh. Justin Quisenberry, WNCN News.
All right, Justin, thank you. Meanwhile, a breakdown quickly of previous safety issues at the State Fair. Back in 2011, more than 24 people got sick with E. coli traced back to farm animals. In 2008, an adult and 2 kids were injured when a roller coaster rear-ended the one that they were riding in. Then back in 2002, a fair worker was killed when a pendulum-style swing hit him in the head.
Now, the Vortex will be closed for the remainder of the fair. Our Sean Maroney investigates a company that operates the State Fair, joins us now with who they are and their safety record. Sean?
That's right, Melanie. Since 2006, North Carolina has contracted with Powers Great American Midway to run the fair. Now, that company has subcontracted with others in order to bring in more rides. We have just a little over 100 rides here at the fair right now. Now, one of those companies that was subcontracted is a Georgia-based one. It's called Family Attractions Amusement Company. Now, Family Attractions brought in 1 ride to the fair. And that's right, if you guessed it, it was the Vortex involved in last night's incident. I've reached out to the company, but they still haven't commented. According to their website, and I quote, Family Attractions rides are inspected on a daily basis before opening and are inspected weekly by state inspectors. We're very proud of our safety record. Safety is our #1 priority. So what is that record of safety? According to the Amusement Safety Organization, from 2004 to 2011, Family Attractions had 3 safety incidents in Georgia, all involving rider injuries. Now, Wake County Sheriff Donnie Harrison tells us that there was an incident on Monday night earlier this week in which involved the Vortex, where they said that a latch that had to deal with keeping someone safely in the seat wasn't properly working. So they had someone come in, look at it, fix it, clear it, and then allow it to be open the same evening for all the riders. Now, North Carolina Commissioner Cherie Berry told us earlier today about the process with the safety here at the fair. Take a listen.
We have a 100% rule in North Carolina, which means that unless that ride is 100% in compliance with the manufacturer's specifications to operate, we won't let it open in North Carolina.
Now, Powers inspects the rides 3 times each day. They're the ones that are in charge of doing that. And earlier this afternoon, they released a statement online saying that they were deeply saddened by the injuries caused in last night's incident. Now, the Labor Department can go up at any time and ask to see the checklist from ride operators to see how many times they've actually checked off the safety for that day. Again, it has to be 3 times each day. Now, they won't tell us, though, whether or not the Vortex was in fact checked 3 times before last night's incident. I'm reporting live at the State Fair. Sean Maroney, WNCN News. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
The accident on the Vortex was on a lot of people's minds who came to the fair today. The gates opened at the usual time. So did most of the rest of the rides. Despite what happened, many we spoke with say they're not worried about the safety here.
Do you think for the most part the rides are safe?
Yes, sir. We've been coming down here probably about 10 years now. So I think it's pretty safe. I think it was just a freak accident.
I'm not really concerned. They're here to have fun.
You at all worried about the rides?
Not really. I mean, to me, it seemed like it might have been just a freak accident. Sometimes stuff happens for no apparent reason. Nobody understands why.
State Agriculture Commissioner Steve Troxler says he's confident enough in the safety of the rides that he will allow his grandkids to ride them this weekend. Coming up in just a few minutes, a look at the rules and penalties when it comes to maintaining these fair rides.
Yeah, this is the final weekend of the State Fair, and if you do have plans to go out there tonight, you may want to bundle up. Chief Meteorologist Wes Hohenstein here now to tell us how cold it's going to be, Wes.
Yeah, it wasn't all that warm today, Melanie. 56 was our high, but another beautiful sunset. It's 52 right now. The problem is as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to get cold. We're going to be in the 40s in a hurry tonight. They're already there in Roanoke Rapids, and I'd say in another hour, about half of us are going to be in the 40s. Still in the mid-50s down south, where Fayetteville made it up to 59 today. But it's tonight and tomorrow morning that it's going to be the coldest of the whole week. And it's going to be the morning that we go down to freezing or even below that. So that's why not only our entire area, but really most of the state has a freeze warning right now, including for the coast. They usually skirt out of those types of events. But again, we'll be below 32 between 1 and 9 a.m. So freeze warnings are generally issued for the agricultural community. But for me and you, here's what we're going to feel if you're up early tomorrow. So we're going to go mid-20s up by the Virginia border. We'll have temperatures around 30 here in the Triangle, and again around 30, 31, 32 down in the Sandhills. There is a warm-up coming. We'll talk about that coming up in full weather. In the meantime, keep an eye on these temperatures all night and tomorrow morning on the go. Just download the WNCN weather app, search WNCN WX on your Android or Apple device. Guys?
Thanks, Wes.
Coming up, honoring Eve Carson, UNC's slain student body president.
College students take to the pit with a little rhythm to raise awareness for her foundation.
Also ahead, the new high-profile inmate at a local prison.